Welcome back to the Dan Maskell Tennis Centre at Loughborough University. It is finals day, week 2 of the UK Pro League. We've had our first match, a success for Beth Gray, battling back brilliantly after the disappointment of losing in the semi-finals last night to beat Alice Gillan. Still to come, of course, the two showpiece events with Emily Appleton and Anton Matusovich looking to maintain their 100% records this week. They have been magnificent, but they've got a little bit of waiting to do, because before that we've got the battle for men's third and fourth, and this promises to be a very hard-hitting encounter with two men who are aggressive, competitive and fearless, and they'll need all those qualities today. Let's first welcome onto court 30-year-old Dan Cox, who's made a real impression over the past year or so. He's from Lancashire. He was a wonderfully talented junior who made the Tarbes final. He reached 206 in the world rankings. He came out of retirement last year to star in the Pro Series. He came fourth in week 1 here. And now he has a chance to go one better, and I'm sure that's something he wants to do. But it won't be easy against an opponent he knows extremely well. Sean Hodkin is 22 years of age. He comes from Lincolnshire, but he lives in Sheffield. He's coached by Justin Revel. He trains a lot with his opponent today. He's won 2 British Tour Masters titles, but he's lost his 2 previous encounters against Dan. And last year, he was in Greece at a tournament when a flash flood caused absolute chaos, and he had to go and help the locals clear everything out. So he can deal with emergencies as and when they arise. He'll hope there aren't any today. Alongside me is a man who knows him extremely well, top British coach Calvin Betton. Calvin, afternoon to you. These guys know each other extremely well. What's your hunch as to how things are going to pan out here?
I think it's going to be a really interesting one, because these two guys obviously practice with each other regularly. And Sean obviously sees Dan as some sort of type of mentor figure. So it's what we're going to be interesting from a psychological point of view to find out if Sean can really sort of turn it on, if Dan's going to sort of use that sort of father figure element and try and put a bit of pressure on him with some mind games. But yeah, there's lots of different layers to this one, I think.
I'd better get you just to move slightly off the court before you get thumped on the back of the head. Now, it's interesting because, as I mentioned, Dan finished 4th a couple of weeks ago as well, and we keep talking about the psychology of losing a semi and having to come back for 3rd, which is still worth a lot of money and a lot of points. But do you think that could be an issue for him today?
I don't know necessarily an issue. I think it's for someone who's been at Dan's level of top 200 in the world. He's played main draws in Grand Slams. It's whether he can sort of get that. He's always going to put 100% in effort in. But I think in terms of motivation, whether he can drag himself out for a 3rd, 4th place playoff. Dan Cox was coming to win this tournament. He wasn't coming for the 3rd, 4th place playoff. But there's some money at risk. There's points for the Masters obviously involved as well. So I think he'll definitely want to win. It's whether that sort of intrinsic motivation comes through to get the 3rd, 4th.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because come the end of the year, if you've got sufficient points, you're going to make it through to Masters Week, when there's an opportunity to make a lot more money. And he showed his durability last year in the UK Pro Series as well. But what about Sean, who's really improved, obviously, from a couple of weeks ago? What's been the difference this time?
I think last week was a strange one for Sean, because he'd been abroad, he came back into the country, he had to quarantine, and he couldn't train for about a week, and I think he only had a couple of days training in before he came to play last time, so he had a slow start into that. This end, Sean's a very sort of physical player. He likes to be in condition, he likes to sort of find his rhythm, plenty of training. So I think now we're seeing him with a full couple of weeks of training behind him, what he can really do. So
purely in tactical terms, what in particular should we look out for here, Calvin?
Dan's going to look to move Sean around the court. He'll know his sort of strengths and his weaknesses. Sean likes to make a lot of balls. Sean's really good, as I spoke a bit about him in commentating yesterday, Sean's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive, because he's not going to win the match just on Dan Cox's unforced errors. He's going to have to dominate. When he lands a big blow, when he lands a big serve, he's going to have to take advantage of those half chances that come.
Okay, so come on, tell us exactly what's going to happen. Be careful with Dan just over your shoulder.
I think my feeling is that Dan's got a sort of mental edge on Sean, and I think he's probably going to nudge it in a couple of close sets.
Okay, he didn't hear that, so you're all right. Calvin's going to head up to the commentary box now, and we'll go back there and rejoin Jenny.
Thanks very much, guys. Very much looking forward to the second, third playoff of the day. First one was between Alice Gillan and Beth Gray. Beth Gray securing her 3rd place finish overall with a 6-1, 6-2 victory over Alice Gillan. Up 1 spot from week 1, Alice Gillan into 4th. This week, Dan Cox, a semi-finalist in week 1, semi-finalist in week 2, of course, too. Sean Hodkin in your picture now, 22 years of age. Born in Birmingham, but lives in Sheffield. He's had a much better week this week. Has played some fabulous tennis. Had a tough match against Anton Matusovich yesterday, though, top-ranked player in the men's draw. Had a set point at 5-4, serving for the opening set, couldn't quite take his opportunity. And then Anton Matusovich powered past him for the rest of the match. But joining me, Jenny Drummond in the commentary box, Calvin Beth. And Calvin, you were just saying how interesting a match this could be. These guys know each other so incredibly well. And sometimes the emotion can be brought into the tennis match as well, not just the tennis itself.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting one because these two, they spend most days together, they train together, they're almost sort of exclusive practice partners a lot of the time for a lot of weeks, and I know they've just been to Dubai together to do a couple of weeks training. Sean told me before that they tend not to play many practice sets though, which is strange. They tend to sort of do a lot of drilling, a lot of condition points, but they don't practice sets much, so there's not much to go on in that. We're trying to find a bit of inside information as to who normally wins the practice matches, but there's not much to go on there. So we've only got their 2 previous matches. They played last week, and I think Dan won relatively comfortably. But yeah, Sean definitely sees Dan as a sort of mentor, little bit of a father figure, I guess, because he's been there, he's played the game at the level that Sean's hoping to achieve. So it's going to be interesting to see if Sean can turn the screw and whether he's willing to step up against somebody who's got so much respect for.
Absolutely. You mentioned that meeting in week 1. It was Dan Cox. He got the better of his friend 7-6, 6-2. But to be fair, this week, Sean Hodkin came 9th in week 1, getting to the semi-finals this week, has been playing a lot better tennis. So will that be in the mind of Dan Cox? Twice Dan Cox has played for a place in the final, and twice he's been beaten. In week 1, he then lost the 3rd, 4th playoff. Will that be in his mind a little bit, the frustration surrounding those couple of important losses?
Yeah, I think there'll definitely be an element of that, because I think last night he was definitely the favourite going into the match, and then also favourite going into the tiebreak. He'd won the 2nd set pretty comfortably, and his game really sort of fell apart a little bit. He started making a lot of unforced errors in points when you wouldn't expect Dan to make them. So it was an entirely different match from the semi-final he lost last week. Last week, Josh Parrish really sort of took charge of the match and dominated it, whereas last night Dan was really in the match, and I would have made him a sort of 80-90% favourite going into that tiebreak. So he'd be really disappointed the way that tiebreak panned out. And knowing Dan the little bit that I do, he'll have been really hard on himself at making those unforced errors.
But the format means that they come back for another match. It's 7 matches in 7 days. So if Dan Cox is to go one better than week 1, needs to put yesterday out of his mind and focus on the here and now.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the thing with these two players as well is that they'll both compete to the end. We're not going to get any one of them going away. As I was just saying to Marcus, I'm intrigued to see how Dan does, in that he would have come expecting himself to be playing in the final today, and whether he can sort of drag that little bit of extra motivation out to play the 3rd, 4th playoff.
So Dan Cox will get this match underway. A very different matchup for both players today as well. They were playing hard-hitting, big ball strikers yesterday, and they're far more of the counter-puncher ilk.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Wait, please. What's that? 2nd serve, yeah.
That's something that Sean's going to have to be better at there. Dan's not got a huge 2nd serve, and Sean's still standing sort of 9 or 10 feet behind the baseline, and I don't think there's any real benefit to him doing that against somebody with a 2nd serve like Dan's.
thought it was just wide.
Yeah, that was definitely wide. I think Dan's trying to sort of send an early message to Sean there.
Mind games have begun.
I think Dan's probably questioned more calls this week than all the other players combined.
He's a tenacious character.
Yeah.
He's also the eldest man in the field, 30 years old.
He's very fit though, he's very in great condition.
Yeah, that's one of his key strengths, his movement, his footwork. Which you see
40-50.
every time he plays. The small steps, he's never static.
No, and as I was saying yesterday in qualifying as well, his recovery is so good. He makes the court so small for his opponents because he's always back into the sort of decent recovery position that it's difficult to ever find him out and to catch him out.
$40-30.
Well, a nice dominant way to get himself on the boards.
First game.
Gets the hold does Dan Cox. Pretty competitive first game though between these two close friends, hitting partners.
I think that last point there indicates what is going to decide the match really, that both these players are pretty solid from the back of the court, from behind the baseline. Dan Cox is very, very good on the short balls, on the mid-court balls, the transition play. He's very clinical on those balls, whereas Sean yesterday, I think, really could have been a bit better, and he wasn't taking advantage when he got those half chances to move up the court. He'd sort of like to roll the ball back in and continue the rally a bit longer, but you can't really do that at this level against good players. You've got to take the opportunity, you've got to sort of not make the errors yourself and take the opportunities when you get them. And we know that Dan's going to do them, so I'm just sort of wondering whether Sean can be better at it than he was yesterday.
Sean Hodkin,
Sean
22
Hodkin,
years old, 8 years his opponent's junior.
15 love.
There's the British number 1 under 18, Sean Hodkin. He's aiming to break the top 500. That's his goal for 2021. What's he got to do in his game in order to come close to that?
It's like I was just saying there, his serve's quite decent. He makes a lot of balls. He's not going to make errors. It's just he's got to add that extra level of aggressiveness to his game. When he gets the chances, the sort of ultimate sign of mental toughness is taking each ball on its merit. And what Sean struggles with that. He'll often play a sort of safety first shot rather than go after the ball. And as we saw yesterday, a lot of the times he'd land a big first serve and Anton would block the ball back. Sean would have an opportunity to attack, and instead he'd extend the rallies. But you can't do that if you're hoping to break 500 in the world. When you get a half chance, you've got to go after the ball. At lower down, he'll get away with it. And I often say with all these guys, if they're looking to take that next step up, the difference between sort of 800 and 400 is not their top level, it's their bottom level. Both these guys, all of these guys in the tournament this week, their top level is fantastic. It's what their 6 out of 10, their 5 out of 10 level is. Can they get through in matches when they're not playing great? That's what determines the fact of their ranking.
Nice way to save a break point from Hodkin. You mentioned the ranking. He's ranked 1,240, and Dan Cox, currently unranked. It's been as high as 206, though.
So for anyone who doesn't understand the men's rankings, it's basically we have futures tournament, which is the lowest of the 3 levels of tournaments. In order to get a world ranking, you have to have 1 world ranking point, and to do that, you have to win a main draw match in a futures tournament. So Dan has been he's played a few, and he's pre-qualified, qualified, got into main draw, and hasn't managed to get over the line for this stage in his career just yet to get that main draw win.
Oh, just wide. But that's something that Dan Cox has spoken about. He said he's knuckling down, he's really trying to work hard, but it's quite exhausting trying to get that first point because you've already played 6 matches and you're tired by the time you get your first main draw match.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dan was out in Sharm a few weeks ago and he pre-qualified, qualified, and then I think he lost first round main, but that was his 7th match of the week, I think, at that stage already. So he's already played a full tournament plus 2 matches, and I think even then he had to pull out the next week. His body was just drained after that, but it's so tough to get back on the board. And basically the difference within that is that if he would have got a world ranking there, he wouldn't have had to go into pre-qualies, so that automatically takes off the first sort of 3 or 4 matches off that for the next week. He would still have to qualify, but it's a whole lot easier. You just got 2 or 3 matches to qualify then. The pre-qualies is the real tough one. You're going through 3 or 4 or 5 matches to get into the qualifying draw, and if you lose your first round main, you don't get any points.
A 4th breakpoint opportunity for Dan Cox here. And he takes it. First blood to Dan Cox.
If Dan keeps playing though, I wouldn't be worried about his ranking. I mean, I'd say he's already standard at the minute. I would say he's somewhere between about 900 and 800. So that's sort of what you're looking at. So if he keeps playing the futures, he won't, for some clarity, not every tournament will you have to pre-qualify for. It's just there aren't many tournaments at the minute. So in summer, he'll be straight into qualies and he'll pick points up. I'm certain of that.
And for anyone who doesn't know the story of Dan Cox's career, well, he's played the main draw of Wimbledon twice. 2017 is one of his last professional matches qualifying at Wimbledon, then didn't play until 2020.
See, they're the last 2 points we've seen there. Dan's landed 2 first serves, short ball, and he's cleaned them both off for winners. That's what we're talking about with what I'm really interested to see, whether Sean can take his game to that level where he's doing that as opposed to giving his opponent another shot to hit at. Huge. Really, he's just a fantastic ball striker, is Dan Cox. It's tough to hit winners cross court from behind the baseline. He's just cleaned one off there.
A love hold for Dan Cox. He leads by 3-love in this first set. What a start for the 30-year-old. Welcome back to UK Pro League 2021. This is finals day of week 2. This is third-fourth playoff between Dan Cox and Sean Hodkin. Both lost out in the semi-finals yesterday. Cox off to the better start.
First serve.
Oh my.
Wow.
Love 15.
This is, I think, where Sean's really got to step up. This is something that he can tend to do in matches. He tends to sort of not adapt to his opponent, and the real sort of sign of a competitor is the ability to adapt to the situation and to their opponent, where it's one thing sort of sticking to your initial game plan, but when a real competitor will sense when it's time to change, and Sean really needs to change. Just being solid won't get it done. We've seen Dan just cleaning winners off.
I wonder if there's a bit of frustration too from Dan Cox after being defeated by Mark Whitehouse yesterday in the championship tiebreak.
15-13.
Yeah, Dan may feel that he let Mark have too many balls to have a hit at yesterday. He wasn't aggressive enough himself, and that may be sort of why he's coming out and having a real sort of swing at a lot of these balls. He's definitely more aggressive than he was, although it's easier to hit at Sean's ball than it is at Mark Whitehouse. You're always on the defence against Mark.
Yeah, it will be big ball striking final later on today. Mark Whitehouse against Anton Matusovich. We said we fear for the balls in that match.
Yeah, there's going to be some big hits in there. None of those guys are going to come out to wait for errors from their opponent. They're both going to go after the ball in a big way. It's interesting in both these men's matches today. There's two practice partners playing together, because I think that I've heard that Anton and Mark have been playing quite a lot of practice sets together as well. So
it just heightens the intensity and tension.
Yeah.
Nothing like a bit of drama.
No, absolutely.
Well, Sean Hodkin gets himself on the board in this third-fourth playoff.
Okay, Hodkin.
Some big serving.
Dan cracks me up because he even questions his own calls. You see him having a little look at that serve there. He's mad at himself that he didn't call that one out, I think.
So in the picture there, Jason Revel, coach of Dan Cox, has been with them week 1 and week 2. Incidentally, his twin brother, Justin, coaches Sean Hodkin.
Yeah, I know both guys relatively well, and I never know which one's which. They are
identical.
Yeah, they are absolute identical twins.
But we do know that is Jason.
Right. And to sort of explain that a bit further, I didn't actually know that they had a different coach. I thought it was the same guy who was with them, and I've been around both Sean and Dan a fair bit, so.
They must have played tricks on people as they were growing up, I'm sure. But Justin not with Sean today. This is just really impressive stuff from Dan Cox. He's playing on the front foot, dictating play right now.
You can't take it away from Dan there. That's a huge shot he's hitting there. But Sean, on a second serve there, is not in the picture. He's so far back behind the baseline that the camera isn't picking him up for a second serve. And Dan will be the first to admit he doesn't have a huge second serve.
Oh, got a bit lucky there, did Hodkin?
Yeah. You look at the real estate that both players are taking up, though. Dan's pretty much playing all his shots from on or inside the baseline, and Sean is still sort of 9 or 10 feet behind. He's really going to have to change that if he's going to get back into this match. He's got a half chance here, though, at 15-30. Way behind the baseline there. Dan actually came from a the sort of golden year of British talent. Actually, there's so many players in that year who were born who were really good players. The same year as Dan Evans, same year as Marcus Willis. Dan Smethurst, also a really good player who struggled a bit with injuries. A really strong year, the 1990s.
Well,
30-40.
an error from Dan Cox, and here is a first breakpoint opportunity for Hodkin. Get things back on serve here.
If Sean can get a break here, he'll feel like he's stolen one, really, because Dan's been completely dominant in the match. If he can get back on serve, it'll be a real let-off for Sean. It's a huge. Dan's third balls have been absolutely superb so far. When I say the third ball, I mean the serve and the return, and then Dan obviously hits the third ball. The server hits the third ball, but it's such a telling shot in the men's game. That's huge again.
Advantage Cox.
He's allowed to do that though because he can step inside the baseline. He knows where Sean's going to stand. I think this is where the sort of practice partners comes in a lot. Dan really knows what kind of shots he can expect from Sean, and he's just taking advantage of it. He may have made a few errors, but he'll take them at the minute. Better.
Lovely footwork from Hodkin there.
After the shot as well, there was some nice funky footwork there from Sean.
A little bit of a dance almost. He was quite happy with himself with this winner. Let's take one more look.
There we go. Bit of Muhammad Ali there from Sean. I'll be having a word with him about that afterwards.
Court position though, just damaging for Hodkin. Do you think that, given the fact that they are hitting partners, that's something that he would have worked out prior to this match or known coming into it?
Sean's very set on what he thinks he needs to do to win points, and he's very based on making balls and not making errors and making his opponent play an extra ball. So it's a concern for me there because I don't think he'll recognise that. He'll think that he's done his job well there because Dan had to hit order. It's a problem for him as well, though, because Dan's not serving huge, so Sean's getting the ball on the drop a lot of the time when he stood back there. So it's affecting his strike point as well, which means that Dan's getting an even easier third shot. I can't really understand any benefit to why Sean stood so far back against this opponent. I could get it if he was playing a bigger server, but he's not.
Oh, that's a crafty shot from Hodkin, though.
Yeah.
He knows it. He got under the skin of Cox there. And here's another breakpoint chance. Had one a couple of minutes ago.
Same return again, though. There, we don't have a speed gun on here, but I'd be surprised if Dan's going much over about 110 mile an hour there, which is not a huge serve for the men's game.
I guess Hodkin maybe not making the adjustment from playing Matusovich yesterday.
Yeah, I
to
think
Dan
this,
Cox today.
yeah, I think this is where he stands in general, though, against all his opponents. It's something he's. When you asked me earlier on what he would have to do to take that next step up, unless you're one of the very good players at that level, sort of Wawrinka stands far back, team stands far back, but there's a reason why they do it. It's fine to stand back there if you're winning points and doing that. What I'm a bit bewildered with here is that Sean's not winning points so much, either yesterday or today, and still standing back there.
Second serve.
It also means if he does get a short ball at any stage, he's so far away from it that he can't. He's going to have to be extra quick on his feet to get up there.
Well, Hodkin had a couple of breakpoint opportunities there to get this match back on serve, but Dan Cox manages to hold on 4-1 in the first set. Dan Cox currently in control of this opening set against Sean Hodkin, 3rd, 4th playoff. Dan Cox finished 4th in week 1, looking to go one better in week 2.
We saw there, though, Dan, although he's missed that one, he's well inside the baseline when he took that second serve return.
So far this match, Dan Cox really been the aggressor. And that was definitely evidence of that type of play.
That's a huge shot from Sean there. He's just had a slap at that one. I thought he'd put it long. Absolutely leathered that one.
Yeah, I have to agree. I thought it was sailing long as well, but inch perfect.
It's a good serve. I think the question just that Sean's got to ask himself is, am I likely to beat Dan Cox just on Dan's errors? And I don't see any way that that's going to happen. I think that Dan's equally as consistent as Sean is, and he's willing to take a few more risks at the minute. Again, look at him there. Look where he's stood there, though. He's 6 foot inside the baseline there, Dan.
I had a slight smirk there because that got the Daniel treatment.
Yeah, the full name.
The full name
Yeah.
when he's annoyed at himself.
Huge return. He hit so many of those yesterday. He's so good at that one. Inside out, backhand return.
It's also his swing. He barely swings. It's such a short take back, and he's onto the ball so quickly.
Well, one of the sort of mistakes that a lot of people make is thinking that a return is a ground stroke, and it's a completely different shot from a ground stroke. The best way to describe it is it's the second half of a normal ground stroke. There's no take back, and the follow through is the same. So it's similar in a way to sort of catching a rugby ball and throwing it straight back.
Really solid stuff from Dan Cox there. Asking a few questions of Sean Hodkin here in this service game. It's not been straightforward for Hodkin in the service game so far.
No, he's having to fight for every point at the minute, Sean. Don't know if he's quite aware of what he's going to have to do to change this match around. I don't see Dan starting to miss balls. Dan's a real thinker on the court as well. You can see he's really looking to rush Sean. He'll have registered what we're talking about with how far Sean is behind the baseline. I don't know whether he'll try it, but I'd say on the return game, Sean's ripe for a underarm drop shot serve. So far back. I think Nick Kyrgios would be trying a few of those against him.
We saw one day one of week 2 from Kimberly Pakusa.
Kimberly's always ready to mix it up.
Why not?
Oh, yeah. It's a good serve, good body serve. That's one way to combat a player who's charging the second serve. They're looking for it to take a big sort of swing at it and give themselves the opportunity to go after it. If you go body serve, it ties them up and they'll stop doing it so much.
Just got caught there.
Again, a strange shot there from Sean. He's got the short ball. I don't know why he just doesn't go after it. He's a huge hulk of a man. If anyone doesn't know Sean, he's a huge lad.
Thank you.
Doesn't seem to use it on his tennis, though. Wasn't a great drop shot either.
You know so quickly whether or not you've hit a good drop shot. This occasion, another break point for Dan Cox, second of the game, looking to extend his lead. Extend his lead, he does. He's just one game away from taking this opening set. That's got to be a bit of a blow for Sean Hodkin.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to that drop shot one there, I was saying to Gigi yesterday in commentary that when you're looking for a drop shot, what you want is almost like a mini lob. You want the ball to just sort of lob over the net, and you want it to drop to hit the ground and then bounce directly upwards. You don't want it to be bouncing on towards your opponent, if that makes sense. And what happened that with Sean there, it wasn't a great one, but he also didn't get the angle of attack on it. So it bounced towards Dan, so the ball was coming towards Dan as he was running towards it. It just gave him so much more time.
Credit to Hodkin there. That was an extremely deep return of serve right in the corner.
Yeah, but he's going to have to go after those. Dan's probably his weakness, I would say, is probably his serve because of his size. He's not got a huge serve, and Sean can have a swing at them. That's good accuracy. He's very accurate on it. He might not have the power, but he hits his spots really well.
It's hard for me to tell.
Bit of argy-bargy between mates.
I don't know. I personally don't know.
So Hodkin called the serve out. The chair is saying he's not sure.
30-15.
Players calling their own lines here at the Pro League. No
I'm not saying I honestly
line
don't
judges
know,
due to
so
the pandemic. Thoughts on that replay, Calvin?
That looked like Dan might have a point there. He's given him the "it's fine, don't worry about it" that you give somebody in an argument, hasn't he? There.
The passive aggressive.
Yeah. I think he might have got the point though.
And has that maybe rattled Hodkin a tad?
I think that's what we were talking about earlier with this respect that Sean has for Dan. I think Dan's argued that one. I think Sean might have crumbled on that one actually, because the chair said he wasn't going to overrule it. And I think Dan has sort of put enough pressure on Sean to change his mind.
So 2 set points for Dan Cox. Just needs one of them though.
It's a perfect set from Dan Cox, that one.
And he wraps it up very nicely indeed. 6 games to 1. He leads his friend Sean Hodkin. Dan, you there?
Yep.
Hiya, we're just in the break right now, so as soon as we come back, I'll just start chatting to you, ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's myself and Calvin here in commentary.
Okay.
We'll be with you in about 20 seconds.
That's wrong, isn't it?
Welcome back to UK Pro League, 3rd, 4th playoff. Dan Cox just taking the first set, 6-1. Dan, that was a pretty impressive opening set from you, hitting some big balls out there. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a strange match for both of us, obviously knowing each other so well. So it's always tough to play a friend, and in such a competitive environment, it's tough.
Hi Dan, it's Calvin. You look to be playing a lot more aggressive than what you were last night. Is that something you brought into it? Do you think that that's what you needed to do, or is it just because you're playing Sean and you know so much about him?
No, I think today it was all about sort of setting up my game for the coming weeks going abroad. So I'm just trying to improve on what I did yesterday. I just thought I was a bit too hesitant on some things, and just trying to, just to be a bit more positive in my game, just in general, and that's the way I want to play.
And Dan, how about that call on the serve there? A bit of argy-bargy between you two, hey?
No. I mean, it's tough because obviously it was fast serve near the line, so it's pretty tough to call. I think I'm pretty much on the line, so I think I saw it pretty good. I just thought the umpire would overrule it rather than an awkward conversation between us two.
Very politically correct. Thanks very much, Dan. Well done.
Cheers.
I was hoping for some more drama there in that answer. Didn't get it.
I think if he'd have been broken there, you wouldn't have got such a diplomatic answer, or if he'd have lost the point.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure they're still chatting about it now. Well, they're certainly laughing about it now. I'm not surprised. They're good mates, hitting partners, of course, and
He's dropped the umpire in it there as well, hasn't he? He's blaming the umpire rather than his mate.
But Sean Hodkin in your picture there with some work to do here.
Right, let's see if Sean can change his tactics here. He's got to do something different. He can't come out and do exactly the same.
Well, he's certainly got to get a hold in this opening service game. He's looking positive after leaving the court at the end of that first set. But can he translate that into his tennis?
He must know that he's got to be more aggressive. He can't think that what he's done in the first set was enough to get this match done.
Let's go. Come on. 30 up.
Can't quite afford to give those sorts of errors to Dan Cox.
No, at this level as well, you're always looking to get 3 points in a row. That's a real sort of momentum swing, and that's why Sean should be frustrated at that. When he's 30 love up, it's an opportunity to really drill home the first 3-pointer of the set. And now he's back to 0 on that count. Still in a good position though at 30-15. He's a couple of good ball threes though in this game. A bit of an improvement there for Sean. He's got that huge serve. He needs to take advantage of it more. Really good change of rhythm there from Dan. Changing the pace is giving Sean a different ball. He's not come across any slices so far in this match.
Well, you spoke about Dan Cox being a thinker on the court. He's got quite a high tennis IQ and really utilising it there.
He's very similar to Dan Evans in that respect, is that every shot you think it is not random. Yeah. Every shot there's gone some thought process gone into it.
Oof. It's not an easy pickup to try and control. Cox getting it right down to Hodkin's feet on that occasion.
See, Dan was on the way in as well. They knew what shot was coming, even if that did go over. Pressure on Sean again. There's no respite here.
That's a much better play from Sean, thinking about it. He knows the pace of Dan Cox.
Well, when I spoke earlier on about Dan's recovery, which is excellent, he's probably the best recoverer in the tournament this week. The one way to counter that is going back behind, because he sets off so early that you can catch him out with that shot back behind, wrong footing. Good game for Sean to win that one. Really needed that game.
Yeah, crucial hold
First game,
for the 22-year-old. Stop the run of games against him. And he'll feel a lot more confident switching ends here. Of course, this is third, fourth playoff. And there's quite a lot at stake. This is week 2 of a total of 9 weeks of UK Pro League 2021. Everyone is competing for that classic week. And Calvin, what do you make of those numbers from the opening set? Any surprises there for you?
Well, the main one to look at there is Dan Cox winning 87% of points on his second serve, and Sean winning 33%. That's always a key stat, but those differences are huge. You can't be letting your opponent win 87% on their second serve. That's just, Sean's got to make a huge improvement in that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Hodkin can do in this service game of Cox.
And not happy at all about Sean wanting to move that ball there. That had the look of somebody as well who's seen Sean repeatedly move balls that he doesn't think needs moving in practice every day, probably. really good from Sean. That's what he's going to want to do more of. He's opened the court up well there, and with the sort of cross-court one to take Dan out of position, and he's really had to hit his spot, and he's hit it big. That's what Sean can play like.
Well, he really used the backhand to open up the court there.
Yeah.
And he's able to generate a lot of pace.
He's so strong. He's such a huge guy.
Super smart.
Yeah, really good volley, but Sean will be disappointed with that passing shot there. He had sort of half of a sniff there, half a chance, and it wasn't a terrible shot, but he's in the middle of the court. He's going to want to have passed Dan there, I think. Really good volley, though. I think he's put it long.
Either way,
Yeah,
if that one wasn't long, the
Yeah.
second volley was wide.
I think that's the conversation. I think the umpire's telling Dan Sean's volley was long, and he didn't call it, but he's put this one wide anyway. So that definitely looked long, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that's wide as well, yeah.
So Dan Cox holds 1 game apiece in the second set. Women's final coming up next. Emily Appleton looking to win second straight week for UK Pro League up against Elise Maloney. Fought back from facing 6 match points in her semi-final against Beth Gray last night. It was a marathon effort from the 20-year-old.
Love 15.
And of course, following that, Anton Matusovich, top-ranked player in the men's side of the draw, up against the second top-ranked player, Mark Whitehouse. A battle of the mathematicians there.
Yeah, a very high IQ off the court between those two. Sean's getting a bit frustrated there. He's trying to go for a bit more, to be fair, on those last two balls. Got the pressure on now, though. And this is the thing with Dan. He's so relentless. He's on top of the baseline every time. He's putting pressure on. He's trying to speed Sean up. Sean's actually one of the slower players between points, and Dan's one of the faster ones. So Dan's winning that competition. He's speeding, taking Sean a bit out of his rhythm, I think, at the minute. Good finish.
Come on.
That's quite gutsy under pressure from Hodkin.
Yeah. These risks he's got to take, though. They're not really risks. I'm saying risks there, but they're not really risks. That's a shot that he's favourite to make, that one. You'll see here that Dan's really going to charge this second serve now. Look how close he's on the baseline already. Yeah, good body serve again, though.
Yeah, that's smart from Hodkin, recognising that he's used that tactic before and it's worked for him.
Yeah.
On that particular side as well, on the ad court.
Yeah. Missed that one. Needs a bit more footwork there. It's a big game for Sean, this one, because even though he's been worse off out of this match, he'll keep thinking if he can keep winning games, he's getting closer to a tie-break. And he still only needs to win a set and a tie-break here.
Yeah, format, of course, if it goes to 1 set all, match championship tie-break decides the outcome. And Dan Cox was defeated in his against Mark Whitehouse yesterday.
Changing this rhythm up again, changing the pace up with a short slice.
Well, Dan Cox gets the break in this second set. 2-1 to the good for Dan Cox. Finals day of week 2 of UK Pro League 2021. This is our second, third, fourth playoff of the day. Dan Cox in a pretty commanding position right now. Leads by a set and a break against friend Sean Hodkin.
You see the difference there in Sean's recovery to Dan's. Sean was still sort of in the position where he hit the return, whereas Dan, when he hits that return, is already back in the middle of the court. This has got to be a big game for Sean Hodkin. Cox holds, he extends his lead, he loses any form of control. Yeah, he's not having any easy service games himself either. Every service game feels like a battle for Sean at the minute. But the momentum shifts so quick in these matches, as we said about the tie-break. I watched the match earlier in the week between Whitehouse and Findle Hawkins, and Whitehouse was the dominant player for 80% of the match, and then Findle won a sort of quick break and then got the tie break and snatched away from Mark.
Power and touch from Dan Cox. Yes. Just winning on all fronts right now.
Yeah, such a good change up that one as well. He's so dominant from the back, and I wouldn't say that's a drop shot really. It's more a sort of digging in short slice.
But on these courts, the slice just dies. It's a really effective shot.
He's going to ask a question there as well, isn't he?
bullet.
That's good hitting. When we saw those stats about the second serve points won, it's so important, because if Sean could just add 20% onto his own second serve points won and take 20% off Dan's, then the match is completely different, even if every other stat on that chart showed exactly the same. He's really got to do more, as he's just done there. That was a better second serve point.
Cool as you like under pressure though, Dan Cox.
He's getting so much time though from that. I mean, to be fair, it's a good serve. He's hit his spot well, but he's got so much time and space. He's got so much court to aim at, with Sean being so far back. I'm surprised he hasn't played more drop shots, to be fair, but then again, he's not needed to. He's been so clinical on the short balls. And Sean's really struggling to take up those 3 points in a row. I can't remember the last time he's done one.
Well, Dan Cox consolidates the break. And frustration building for Hodkin at the moment. Running out of answers and running out of scoreboard time.
Yeah, it's difficult. He doesn't really see a way out at the minute, and Dan can get you in that frame of mind. He's so fast around the court. He's not missing when he's hitting winners as well. You don't really see what can change, but Sean could change his court position a little bit. I think he'd get a bit more joy. We've got new balls here. This should help him. A bit more speed on the serve, maybe.
Of course, with new balls that tend to fly through the court a bit more. And Hodkin already with a powerful serve.
Yeah.
Looking to gain a couple of extra miles per hour to trouble Dan Cox here.
Get new balls at this level at every 11 and 13 games. I think in the final today we could do with new balls after every couple of games, the way that those two are going to destroy them.
Yeah, that is between Anton Matusovich and Mark Whitehouse a little bit later on. Yeah, those balls will have no fluff on them.
Yeah. I'd normally be trying to take a couple for some coaching later, but I don't think there'll be much use to those ones after the final. They'll be dead already. See, on the first 3 points, these balls really have made a difference. Every one of them's flown. We've had one go long every time. Oh, wow. It's a really good setup shot Sean's hit there as well. He does have a lack of confidence in his volleys, as we've seen there. That's really one to just punch in either corner.
Just lose concentration there, a little bit too casual.
The technique's not great on that one either. He looked in a bit of indecision. I don't think he wanted to play that volley. I think he was hoping to finish it off with the shot before. Dan will be furious at that one. He is, you can see.
40-30.
30 all, he wants to take advantage of that. He's in a good position, but Dan knows he's played enough of these matches to know that 10 minutes of sloppiness and suddenly you're in a match tiebreak, no matter how dominant you've been. You can't believe that one.
Seething.
That's a better one.
Game. Hodkin.
That's the shot he should have played the first one.
Got it that time, did Sean Hodkin. Stays in touching distance, but Cox still with the break at 3-2 in the second set. Welcome back to the Dan Maskell Tennis Centre here at Loughborough University. Finals day of week 2 of UK Pro League. Dan Cox setting a break to the good, looking to finish third in week 2, one better from week 1.
A little bit of sloppiness coming in from Dan here. Couldn't really maintain the level he was coming with in the first set, I don't think, though.
It really was an impressive first set from Dan Cox. Dictated play. Forehand was firing, that's for sure. Was quite happy with his level, given the fact he lost a close semi-final match yesterday.
Now then.
Love, 30.
Okay, let's see if Sean can get one of those 3 points in a row, see if he can convert one here. A couple of errors. He's not had to do much to get to love 30 either. I think Dan was trying one on there. That serve was definitely long. Sloppiness again there from Sean. At that situation, he's really got to put the ball in. The frustrating thing with that miss is he's missed one without really going for anything. If he was going to go after it, then fair enough, but that's a rally ball put about a foot wide.
Yes, well played.
It's a good point, that one. The interesting thing there is that Sean's very good at the backhand cross-court pass, and as Dan approached there, I thought he'd set Sean up for it perfectly, and Sean, I don't know why he went for down the line. If he'd have gone, he's really good at that cross-court ball. I think he's won the point there.
Well, from love 30 to 30 all here.
Let's go break point though. Another sloppy one from Dan.
30-40.
Certainly a chance for Sean Hodkin.
Be interesting to see what tactic Sean takes up here. Is he going to go after it a bit more? I don't think Dan's going to make an error on break point. I think Sean might have to win this one on his own racket. Second serve. Come on now, Sean. Let's see you step in a bit more.
What a topsy-turvy point between these two guys, but it's Dan Cox who got the better of his opponent there.
Yeah, and again, Sean, he was just sort of, you could see he's more just hoping that Dan makes an error in it. He had half a chance there on the second serve. He could have gone for it. There was another ball, a forehand, where I thought he really could have ripped one, but he's chosen to rally instead. And I don't think Dan's going to give him unforced errors on those big points. Sean's really got to take a few more balls on their merit rather than playing safety first. A few times Dan's got him with that change of pace, the slice, and Sean gets the error straight away. He started that point a lot better though. The first three balls there, Sean really went after them. Maybe if he'd have come to the net, he would have had a put away volley, but we've seen he's really trepidatious about coming forwards. That change of rhythm is causing Sean a few problems though. Another volley. That second serve nearly bounced twice as well before it reached Sean.
Cox leads by 4 games to 2.
Well, Dan Cox turning the screw here. That was a crucial hold for him after facing a break point. Hodkin had an opportunity to level this second set, but a couple of errors from the Hodkin racket, costly. Now finds himself set 2-4 down.
He's still in it though. If he can hold serve here, we're still at 4-3 and he's in Dan's service games.
That's definitely been a change from the opening set.
Yeah.
Love 15.
Those won't help. But again, I think that's the pressure that Dan's putting on us. You can see he's going for the body serve again there. He knows what Dan's going to do, which makes it even stranger that Sean's not recognised what Dan's doing to him and tried doing the same in reverse.
Now Hodkin, bit of an uphill battle certainly in this game. Had a breakpoint opportunity in the previous Dan Cox service game and now finding himself at love 30.
That's another 3 points in a row for Dan there. It's 4 points actually. It's a poor game this from Sean. Just when he needed to keep the pressure on. I think the last game was preying on his mind a bit. He had a couple of half chances and feels like the game might have gone away from him now.
So triple break point for Dan Cox to serve for this match. Misfires on the backhand, gets broken to love. And after this sit down, Dan Cox will serve for the match. So 30-year-old Dan Cox serving for the match, serving for third place, week 2 of UK Pro League. In third place, getting 12 points, £2,500 plus £500 appearance fee. Means a lot to these players.
It's huge. I was saying yesterday that these guys, even third place, will give you more money than winning a futures would. Normally, winning a futures normally after tax would give you about £1,300. So it's Dan's going to get double what he would normally get for winning a futures.
Of course, the winner of the week receives £3,750. So there's a lot at stake in those semi-final matches yesterday. So I'm sure Dan Cox feeling a little bit of frustration, but nevertheless is doing a pretty good job right now.
Yeah, the players budget for about, when they're on the road on average, they budget for about £500 a week. So every £500 they get is an extra week on the road for them. So Dan will be frustrated with that from yesterday because it's cost him another week on the road.
And now 3 match points for Dan Cox. Not on that occasion, though.
Yeah. Sean was wondering where that net play was, that put away a few games ago. Another opportunity though for Dan. Feels like the life's been taken out of this match a bit now. Dan's been so clinical.
Still 2 match points for Dan Cox.
Sean's bringing a bit of game at the end, coming forward.
40-30.
I think Sean's tried to impose himself a bit more in the second set, but he maybe waited a little bit too late to do so.
It's a third chance here at Dan Cox. And he does, he wraps it up on the third match point. Dan Cox gets a straight sets victory over his friend and hitting partner Sean Hodkin. Pretty solid display from the 30-year-old, secures third place overall week 2 UK Pro League. 6-1, 6-2. And if you're Dan Cox, be pretty happy with that performance.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy with the performance, especially the first set where he played fantastic. There'll probably be a little bit of bittersweet to that as well. He'll be wondering where that was yesterday in the latter stages of that tie break that he played, but he won't be thinking about that right now. He'll just be happy that he's played so well, and like he said, he was hoping to set himself up for a few weeks on the road wherever he's heading in the coming weeks. And again, they're 76% points won on second serve. I doubt Dan will play another match all year where his second serve percentage points won is that high. And 31% isn't going to get it done. What you want to be looking at this level, at any level really, is second serve points won to be around about 50, 51, 52%, and hope that your first serve does the damage. So Dan's well ahead on that. But yeah, Sean will be a bit disappointed, but he'll be back next time. I think he'll play pretty much all of these Pro Series. He'll be hoping to improve then.
Well, certainly it's been an improvement from week 1 to week 2 for both players, but for Sean Hodkin, 9th overall in week 1, and now will finish 4th overall, bagging 10 points and £2,000. So a lot to be positive about.
Yeah, he'll as we were saying a few minutes ago, that'll get Sean out on another road trip somewhere. He'll get sort of 4 or 5 weeks out in Egypt or Greece or Tunisia, the places where these guys always tend to go to play for their ranking points. And the first week I didn't read too much into it because he'd come back into the country, had to quarantine for 10 days and he couldn't get his practice in, so he was a bit rusty then, and this week he's come in and been much improved, won a couple of close ones in his group, and yeah, definitely positive to take for Sean from this week.
Dan Cox dissecting the match already with his coach Jason Revel. I'm sure they'll have a lot to say for the week, but in just a moment or so's time he will have a quick word with Marcus Buckland. Dan Cox securing 3rd place overall in week 2 of the UK Pro League. Was 4th in week 1, lost to Anton Matusovich in that 3rd-4th playoff. So certainly the 30-year-old will be happier to finish 1 place further up, and all looking to qualify for the Classic week. And now we can head down to Marcus as he has a word with Dan Cox.
Well, Dan, many congratulations. You guys know each other pretty well. Did that make it a particularly difficult match to play today?
Yeah, extremely difficult. You know, me and Clive, I call him Clive.
Why?
I don't know, it's just a nickname that's just been the last year or so. Yeah, we know each other so well. We're very good friends, and it's always an awkward match to play because you don't really know how to kind of contain that competitive side, keep it inside because you don't want to get too much in his face and vice versa. So it's always going to be a pretty tough match. Yeah,
well, you did a good job in terms of that, and some very good stats next to your name. Second serve points won in particular. What pleased you most about your performance?
Yeah, I think just the mentality of having lost yesterday in the semi-final. I think I did well to come back and just stay mentally stable and kind of focus on the goals that I want to improve in my game rather than actually, this is the 3rd and 4th playoff. So I was just really pleased with the way I came out and played positively. And yeah, unfortunately, I had to play against the best friend, so it's always tough.
Yeah, and in terms of what you've done over the couple of weeks, 4th place, 3rd this week, so that's 22 points. How are you now going to base your schedule to make sure you build on that while also, I presume, travel the world?
Yeah, obviously, this format is incredible for my game, coming back and playing so many matches. So I'll try and play as many of these as possible, but at the moment my ranking's not very high, so I will always need sort of a wild card to get into this event. So I might have to go away and try and improve my ranking first so that I can qualify without having to get a wild card.
And just in terms of this event, as you say, you're naturally quite competitive, and sometimes you want to rail that in when you're playing somebody like Clive, for example. So is that a little bit of a conundrum for you?
Yeah, it is, because I class myself as extremely competitive. Even I don't know, trying to beat somebody, stay in sauna as long as somebody. Do you know what I mean? I'm that type of guy. I just got a competitive streak in me. It'll just never leave me as long as I live. So yeah, it's extremely difficult against a friend, and I've had it the same in the past with many training partners. So I think I have a bit more experience under my belt with those sorts of matches at the moment. And he's still young as well. So
Well done. If you carry on like this, you'll certainly be in the final next time, and you'll be winning it in 3 or 4 weeks' time. So
yeah,
good luck, all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, congratulations to Dan, and I'm going to be joined by Calvin, who's taking the scenic route around. I don't think he wants to come and talk to me really, but we heard you in the commentary booth there. Obviously, Dan produced a terrific display in the first set in particular. Did that match sort of pan out as you expected?
I thought it might be a little bit closer, but Dan was phenomenal in the first set. His ball striking was fantastic. He didn't let Sean into it. He was sort of moving into the court, really taking real estate further up the court. Sean was hanging back a bit too much, I think, and I think Dan spotted it. He sort of knows Sean so well, so he was just he would have played a perfect first set there, I think, from what he wanted to do, and the second set wasn't much of a drop in that either.
Yeah, you noted the stat on the second serve points one as well, which is about as good as he could hope for, isn't it?
I mean, I don't think he'll ever play a match where he wins 82% of first serves and 82% of points won on second serve in a set, and even at the end of the match, I think it was 73% points won on second serve, and he would have taken 55%, so he's well above that.
Yeah,
so.
And just a final thought, as Dan himself happily admits, he is competitive, and sometimes you want to stick your face into an opponent's face. Other times when you're playing a mate, you don't, but he seems to have got the balance right today.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think his response might have been a bit different if he didn't win the point after that serve, I think, but he seems pretty happy about it, but yeah, it's what he brings. I like it. We need more of that. There's a bit of spice to it, and there's always a bit of spice when he plays, so I think we definitely don't want to take that out of his game.
Absolutely. Okay, Calvin, for the moment, thank you very much. We'll take a short break here at Loughborough University. When we come back, it is time for the women's singles final.